700 islands wrapped in turquoise dreams. Every voice matters, every soul redeems. With a heartbeat broadcasting truth across the waves. Information, liberation. This is how a nation stays. From Andros to Abaco, a love at a Grand Bahama shore. We're reaching every family, knocking on every door. Not just talking policy, baby, we're changing lives. When social service meets compassion, that's when hope survives. We speak your language, we know your name. Through the airwaves, through the struggle, we remain. Building bridges over water, building trust on solid ground. The Bahamas Ministry, where love and justice can be found. We are islands of care in an ocean of need. Planting faith like coconut trees, watching future succeed, watching them grow. Broadcasting truth, serving hearts, making sure you're heard. The Bahamas rises together when we honor every word. This is more than ministry, baby. This is sacred ground. When social services meet heaven, that's when grace abounds.
The executive leadership team of social services, led by Senator the Honorable Barbara Cartwright, is sharpening its focus on improved customer service and strategies to eradicate poor thinking. Transformation begins with self-development. It begins with becoming a better me. During Child Protection Month, the Child Protection Unit of the Ministry of Social Services hosted a retreat for social workers and nurses.
It is truly an honor to stand before you today to speak about the heart behind child protection work. When many people think about child protection work, they often think about investigations, court reports, emergency removals, difficult decisions, or long hours. They see the policies, the procedures, the laws, and the crises. But behind all of that, behind every report written, every home visit conducted, every late night phone call answered, there is something much deeper. There is heart. The heart behind child protection work is compassion. It is the compassion that causes a social worker or a nurse to stay late because a frightened child needs reassurance. It is the compassion that drives teachers, police officers, nurses, and guidance counselors to speak up when something does not feel right. It is the compassion that allows professionals to continue showing up every day, even when the work is emotionally heavy. Child protection work is not just a profession, it is a calling. It is a commitment to standing in the gap for children who cannot always speak for themselves. Every child deserves to feel safe. Every child deserves to feel loved. Every child deserves to grow in an environment where they are protected, nurtured, and valued. And yet, many children experience neglect, abuse, exploitation, abandonment, or violence in silence. Some children carry burdens far too heavy for their young shoulders. Some children lose trust in adults because the very people who were supposed to protect them became the source of their pain. That is why our work matters. Sometimes we may never fully realize the impact of what we do. A simple conversation with a child, a timely intervention, or a report made in good faith can completely change the course of a child's life. The heart behind this work is courage. Because child protection work requires courage, it takes courage to enter difficult situations. It takes courage to make decisions that are not always popular. It takes courage to advocate for children when others remain silent. And it takes courage to continue caring in a world where we sometimes witness unimaginable pain. But despite the challenges, we continue because we understand something important. Children are worth protecting.
You know, when I first came to social services as a consultant, people were saying, "You going there? Man, you're supposed to be this place, that place, that." No. I am going because I understand purpose. So nobody can put less on me because of their ignorance. Oh no, I am so honored that the Lord has assigned me for this season to social services, because I understand that it is the heartbeat of the nation. So when you know who you are, why you are here, nobody can sell you error. So look at the next person next to you and say, "Hey, hey. Hey. You're looking at greatness." Yeah, my company telling me that. We are supposed to be headquarters in the Bahamas of the Good News Network. And one of the things that I am saddened by, which we're going to change together, is that we don't honor one another enough. You all agree with that? And when you don't honor, you devalue who you are. And so the work that social services and the nurses do devalued because we do not have a full sense of what you have prevented. When we talk about protection, protection also has to do with prevention. I have a fractured hand. I can't close it all together. I had an accident, and I'm talking about remember. And sometimes I didn't realize how much one hand can affect the whole body. Because you have a support team. We have two of our members we talking about remember, right? We're reflecting. See, I can't use the knife yet because this is too weak. And so when we are weak, then there's something else that's affecting the rest of the body. Because I can't go up the stairs. Mr. Kenneth Clark, he is helping me to go up because I could lose my balance. And we're not helping our children. There's an imbalance. The body is being affected. When we are not helping our children, it means that we have been disconnected from the law that is divinely mandated by God Himself, that it is better to put a millstone around, what it say? Around the neck, and drown yourself to the bottom of the sea. So are we, in our remembering, connecting the dots that our hand is fractured the way we take care of our children? It is causing an imbalance. To see an increase in incest, to see an increase in domestic violence, to see an increase of suicide, because some of you are walking to work with pain. And that pain is coming from your past. But we don't have an environment that we can go to our colleague and say, "Listen, this is my story," without being judged, without becoming the punch. Because we are fractured in our trust. Trust is the lubrication. And we are not empathizing with the error that we made in the past, and we are letting unforgiveness to hold our future hostage. So when we show up to the child in the home that is hurting, that we are talking about child protection, hurt people hurt people. But I want to dedicate this to the social workers who, in spite of your pain, you are saving lives. Can I tell you a quick story? We were in a meeting one day, Margot Blackman and I. And because of the television programs, this person wanted to release the pain. And you know what she said? A social worker inspired her not to commit suicide. She's going to come on at the end of this program. And she said she was raped from 8 years old. She went to the pastor raped her. She went to the counselor raped her. She went to the teacher raped her. Oh my God. She laying on the bed with her mommy and her boyfriend, and the boyfriend feeling up. She hit her mother's leg to show her, and the mother turned to the boyfriend and said, I tell you, stop doing that. It means that the fear of God needs to be restored, needs to be remembered. And you, as the social worker and the nurse, represent a channel of hope, like you said, Ms. Newbold, a channel of healing. So as we reflect this time in this retreat, where we are withdrawing ourselves, remember that God never asks you to do something unless there's something in it for you. And when we submit, I know I got a little shortened period of time here, but I want us to remind us of purpose in 3 areas. Number 1, self-care. Find your purpose. Is this your purpose? Do you feel passionate about it? What does govern you? Purpose gives birth to vision. You were born to dominate. The world should be so excited about the work that you do, because what you do in cutting down the suicides. Just this morning, as Mr. Clark and I were walking down, he will tell you right now, I called the man and he said his hand was raised up because he was about to commit suicide. That never used to be named among us in the Bahamas. One call turned in away from that. So your purpose, the purpose of social services, of the social worker, the purpose of social workers is to serve as a safety net for at-risk populations, especially children and the elderly. And that's my point. I want to go right here. All socioeconomic problems, the levels of poverty, the levels of single-parent homes whose mothers are so desperate to get something to eat, they traffic their children, they prostitute their children, they prostitute themselves, moves us away from stability. And it creates a greater demand on you, the social worker. And so you represent the bridge of hope and opportunity for restoration to this country. If you believe that, you would give yourselves a round of applause. You are guardians for those trying to survive trauma, grief. I talk about, you all say, you remember your purpose, addiction and mental illness. Your role is multi-layered. You are advocates for the most vulnerable. You bridge the gap between people and the resources that can save their lives. Healthcare. You know, if you can't eat, you're not eating nutritiously, you need the nicest more, right? It doubles up and impact. Counseling and hope. A social worker is often counselor, psychologist, pastor, and in many cases the parent a child never had. How we sounding? How we doing? All right. So I want to just submit this for your consideration. The weaker the family, the greater the need for you, social workers, and the greater the responsibility placed on your shoulders. Have you thought about this? Look at how much God is trusting you with. It means you are here because you can. It means that you are here because the Lord is depending on you to bring restoration to this country. As I said earlier, I want you to watch the second part of this program. I'm telling you, the production team broke down in tears as we shot it. The social worker became the parent that she longed for. The social worker became the reason she chose to live. This is the power of purpose. When parenting is weak, everything suffers. Compassion, integrity, discipline, work ethic. Children grow up traumatized, angry, and searching. But when social workers operate from purpose and love for humanity, you don't just manage cases, you save lives. So I say to every social worker here, remember your purpose, even when the cases are just horrific, even when the stories are unbearable, because your purpose demands that you protect the vulnerable. And protection means this: to stand between someone and harm and refuse to move. Protecting a child is not just a professional duty, it is a moral obligation. It is, I dare say, a divine mandate. And every law that we create reflects this truth. There are awards for obedience and consequences for neglect. The restoration, preservation, protection of our children begins with us, with our commitment to grow in character, to strengthen our relationships, and to lead with integrity. Social workers, you are already doing a great work, but there's always room for greater. I know that we will stand stronger, care deeper, never give up, because every time you choose purpose, you ignite hope, you spark faith, and you give someone a reason to say yes to life and to love. God bless you, and thank you very much.
Have you heard about the Promise Unit? The Department of Social Services provides food assistance, housing assistance, uniform assistance, burial assistance, and financial assistance. Promise makes it easy. You can log on via cell phone, your computer, or your tablet. Sign up today at promise.gov.bs. Once you've registered and created a profile, you can call the Promise Customer Contact Center and speak with someone about any inquiries at 1-242-4-PROMISE. That's 242-477-6647.
You know, talent can so easily be buried by pain. And when there's hopelessness, there's a dark tunnel. And it depends on the environments that you interact with, whether you see a light. This is an example of the lady we're about to meet. She painted this portrait of me, very touching, very talented. But she was just there on the brink of committing suicide. Why? You know, statistically, and I'm talking about globally, there is an increasing number of children being sexually abused. And that may be a very polite word, raped. Our guest had her first encounter with inappropriate touching by adults who are supposed to be trusted. We just heard in our teaching just before this segment. Parenting is the dignity and character between an adult and a child. Doesn't have to be a biological mother or father. You and I as adults, those of us who are adults who are watching us, we are supposed to be parents, guardians that hold dear to us respect, this protective spirit that is rooted in compassion and love. I was so very surprised, humbled, really touched, and oh my, when our guest indicated that she did not mind coming on camera to show and expose, because her experience, her story is riveting. I mean, it's just really, you just stand by from, in the 1980s, I exposed the first incest victim on television that was aired on television in reaction. But I thought I heard some stories over the years. Now, I don't know if you heard this kind of story, okay? But I want to introduce you to our guest, and I want to just thank you so much. You are just so beautiful from the inside out. You're so talented, but you did not have beautiful experiences. I said a few minutes ago that statistically, usually children begin experiencing abuses at generally between the ages of 12 and 17, and you started at 8. 8 is new beginning, but you had a new beginning at 8 years old that wasn't a good story. It was a horror story. Mm-hmm. Tell us about it.
Well, my mom had a friend, a long time friend. He'd always been around. And ever since puberty hit, we started bumping, and I was shakily from I was hit primary school. Well, in grade 3, I started to, develop fastly. And he would always put his hand in the back of the car, trying to touch on my legs and stuff growing up. And my mom, I don't even think she noticed, or I would hope she didn't notice. But the occasion where he tried to, physically touch us was when me and my sister was at home, summertime, and he came there to drop off something. And then he came out the front room to me at first. I was trying to, touch up on me and sexually assault me, and I just wasn't going for it. And then
You fought back?
my sister was there, and my sister always protect me, so
How old is your sister?
in the room,
How old is your sister? How many years?
she was 13 when I was 8.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to do the maths on camera. That's right.
There's about 5 years.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she was in the room at the time. And then he went to the room and tried to bribe her with drugs at the time because she was going through a lot at that age. And he sexually assaulted her.
Was your sister on drugs? Was your sister on drugs? And he tried to...
Bribe her with some drugs to sleep with her. And it worked. And then he left. And she stayed in the room for like 3 hours. And she never came out. And a week after, my mom carried us to church. And she still would bring him around. My sister told her about it. And she still would have him driving us places and picking us up and still around. And then she took my sister to girls' industrial school and admitted her there because she told. And she was like, oh, she's out of control. I mean, my sister wasn't the best child. She would get in trouble all the time, but she was very sweet. She had very sweet.
And you say, but what was the trouble that y'all would get in?
In school, bullying, she was the bully. And she would fight administrators and stuff because she wasn't seen at home the way I saw her. And she always wanted that affection from my mom. And then we wasn't sure who our dad was. I thought my dad died, but apparently he's still here. But
So let me ask you this. So perhaps your mother admitted your sister in the girls' industrial school because she was a bully and she was fighting? Why do you think she admitted her?
calmed down a lot.
No, I mean during that time, at that time when she sent her to the girls' industrial school.
At that time, it was confusing because my sister was doing really good. She was in school, it was one private school she used to go to, university. I think they closed down now. And she was taking karate classes. She was doing summer working jobs and stuff like that, and she was good. And then all of a sudden, you carry her to girls' industrial, where she's finally doing good.
Why do you think she was sent to girls' industrial?
My sister, when I spoke to her on the phone recently, because I was asking her about it, she said right after she told my mom, it was like, you need to go to girls. You need to go somewhere else. You need help.
Right after she told your mom what?
That she was touched from Jane, well, I don't want to say the name, from her stepdad at the time.
How did that make her feel, and how did that make you feel, and are you all still grappling with this?
She is in therapy now for it.
Okay, now let's get some context here in terms of still in therapy, because she was 13 when she started being sexually abused. Our guest was 8 years old when she started to be sexually abused, and now your sister is how old?
32.
And you are?
27.
And they are still looking for therapy. This is really something. It's not long ago that she tried to commit suicide. But let's move on. How do you describe the pain of being sexually abused?
I would say it made me question what I was doing. Because I would see other beautiful young girls my age, and they were enjoying life, and they could wear cute little shorts and little sports bra, and no one trying to carry them in a van. But if I do it, it's like someone always trying to attack me or some way. And it made me wonder if I'm the problem. So I started blaming myself. I started wearing big baggy clothes, and I started acting extra childlike. And for some reason, that just drew men more to me, because they was like, ooh, she's so childlike. And I was so confused by it. I thought maybe if I, tone it down, they would stop. But it just made it even worse.
It made it worse. How did it get worse? From 8 to 12 years old, and then what happened at 12? And how did your experience worsen?
At 12 was when I went into junior high. Now, keep in mind, I was in private school from grade 1 to 6, and that was a Christian private school, so we were safe. And the kids there, they were, they wasn't too fresh, and the administrators was mostly women. So it was a safe space, and I wasn't used to the government system, so when I went to the government system, it was a whole new ballroom. So I wasn't prepared for that, and the staff they had and the securities was horrible, very perverted, and the administrators, they wouldn't even pay no mind of it. I didn't know they saw it.
Did you know what you mean? So what?
because the teacher, it was one teacher who would see this PE teacher, the way he would touch the young girls or talk to them or bribing them with money. And he did it to me, and I was looking at her to see if she gonna say anything, and she just turned the next way until I brought one of my best friends at the time. So she could see that, so I would know I'm not crazy. So she would see what's happening, and then he gave me a little $10 for lunch for me and her. And then he touched me on my legs and was like, oh, have a good day, you look good today. And she was traumatized. She was like, he did that to you before? She was like, did you tell? I was like, the last time we did telling, my sister went to girls and did vandals. So telling wasn't on my radar. But there was a few times I did tell, but in grade 7 as well, my grandmother lived in a motel next to a water company, and the guys who would be carrying the waters and stuff like that, they would always be seeking at me whenever I have on my own clothes. Keep in mind, I'm still 12, but they would be seeking at me and hollering at me. But one day they saw me at the back of the motel, and then one of them held me by the mouth and put me in the back of a shed, and it was 2 of them, and then the third one was outside the room waiting. And the 2 of them were having sex with me at the same time. And then the third one came in, and then it was 2 others that came along when they knew what was happening. And one of them was one of my sister's ex-boyfriend at the time. So I thought he'd come in to help me, because you saw me from primary school, you know me. And he came, and he was like, man, I can't get a little something. I was like, y'all raping me in the back? I can't. And then he still held me down with the other guy. And they were really rough, and I was sore for weeks. And I told my mom briefly about it, and then she was just like, don't go in the back there no more. And then we went to the clinic, I got tested. But it's a good thing I didn't get anything that wasn't curable. But it affected me in a way because I thought we were going to get some justice. I thought we were going to bring like police up there, we were going to, and none of that happened. So after that, I just stopped telling. Whatever happened to me, it happened to me. If I'm alive, okay. So, and then I had many other occasions of sexually abused and touched inappropriately from the security guards at the school, showing me their, private areas, asking me to suck on it. And then one other security guard, because I started to get big breasts, he always come to me and say, give me a hug. Then he would start squeezing my buttocks and holding me tight, and I would feel his, arising while he holding me, and he would hold me, whisper in my ears, oh, you're so nice. I just love the way you make me feel. And
How old are you at that time?
12.
I can't take it.
And a lot happened at the age of 12. It's so much that I almost started to forget some of the encounters, especially living where I was living, where my grandmother lived. A lot of pedophiles would come there, and a lot of escort women would come there and sleep with these men. And then they see this nice, vibrant young girl. So now they saying, oh, see what this got going on. So I would always try to stay in the back of the motel, but I stopped going in the back after the occasion. But I'll stay around people, and I could have went in my grandmother's place, but her husband would make me feel uncomfortable. So it was like a constant running.
You felt like her husband, given the chance, would abuse you as well. When we come back, we're going to just spend a little bit more time with some of her other experiences. And what I want us to think about here for a moment, it's just like almost every adult that she encountered betrayed their trust. The trust trust is the lubrication for every relationship. So the relationships that she had was polluted by immorality. They didn't have a value system that they believed in or committed to. And so when we look at how we're going to protect our children, we have to look at how we are going to restore our moral compass. She has been affected by pastors. That's shameful. Judgment begins in the house of the Lord. Teachers. What is this? Stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment.
Have you heard about the Promise Unit? The Department of Social Services provides food assistance, housing assistance, uniform assistance, burial assistance, and financial assistance. Promise makes it easy. You can log on via cell phone, your computer, or your tablet. Sign up today at promise.gov.bs. Once you've registered and created a profile, you can call the Promise Customer Contact Center and speak with someone about any inquiries at 1-242-4-PROMISE. That's 242-477-6647.
You can now stay in tune with all things social services on any one of our social media platforms: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, missed any of our Taking Social Services to the People programs? No worries. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Bahamas Heartbeat, to watch all of our programs and special content. Social Services is the heartbeat of the nation, taking our clients from dependency to self-sufficiency to economic empowerment.
You know, I remember a young lady called me to speak with me very urgently. Her son beat up a teacher, and I'd never forget. Her story was that she came from one of the islands, and every time she moved from one home to the next, an adult, male and female, raped her. She could not read, and she wanted to be a better mother. Her son became rebellious in the school. Why am I saying that? It sounds, this is not a psychologist, it's not on this program, but I want us to see a little thread that I've seen through the years, that when children are hurting, they seem to repel. And we misdiagnose why they are being so rude or why they're being physically aggressive. And she wept like a baby, and because she said that he cried out and said she never comes, or the father, which was his stepfather, never went to school. And the only time the father, the stepfather, would speak to him was when he was cursing and rowing him. And then later on, she found out that he was sexually abused. And she just didn't know what to do. And she said, the reason why I did not go to his school and the PTA meetings is I didn't want anybody to know I can't read or write. I put her into, very quietly, reading classes. But there are so many of us walking in pain every day. And so our guest has been riddled with pain from the age of 8 to 22 years old. That's only about 5 years ago. Give us some of your worst experiences? After 12, you had gang rape at 12 years old, and what are some of the most graphic nightmares you've had?
I would say it wasn't graphic, but it was graphic to me because we were moving place to place, and it was the first time my mom actually saw it for herself. Of her, well, the same guy, he was touching me because we was moving place to place, so we decided to stay by him in his room. And she was laying down sleeping, and I was watching TV, and he came and he was like putting his finger, in my private area. I was about 13 at the time, and I was tapping her foot like this, so, because I didn't want him to see that I'm tapping her, because I wanted her to catch him in the act. And she got up and she looked, and then she just was like, "What are you doing? I told you not to do that." And that's it. And I just was like, "Are you serious right now?" I'm thinking, yes, this is finally the day, and it didn't work. So I just was like, wow. So that broke me down, I'm not gonna lie. Then we just went on with our day like nothing happened. And he would always do that until I just stopped being around him. I just would be by my sister, and she rebelled. She just forgot about my mom when she came with the ambulance and went on a full spiral. She would have me on adventures with her by different guys, and she just broke out. And then
She would have you with adventures with her, so then it means that both of you all, now having been abused all these years, made it a lifestyle, a choice. Through the hurt, the pain, and the rebellion, and going with different men voluntarily. Describe that feeling, what made you break out and run to the very thing that was causing you pain.
my sister was kind of tomboyish, so the guys wouldn't be sexually, coming on to us. So it felt like a safe space. It was grown men, but they would be smoking and chilling and talking. And I felt safe there rather than being at home with my mommy. So we would be on the canals, she would be smoking and drinking. And we would actually have a great time at 13, and she was about 15. And we would have a ball. But it was with a bunch of grown men and a bunch of studs and different provocations people. All right? And then I started just being around her mostly. And my mom would allow it. My mom wasn't strict. She just would just be like, all right. And another graphic occasion I had was my mom, she got pregnant with the guy. And he just ghosted her and just left her with the baby. And we would be catching bus and hiking rides to get place for place. And she saw this Rasta guy, and she said she know him from somewhere. And then she just asked me, she was like, "Hey, you don't have an extra place, we could stay?" Because I like 8 months pregnant, and I don't want to have the baby, and then I want a place to stay. So he was like, all right. And he had an extra bedroom, so we moved there. And about 2 weeks later, living there, I'm in the kitchen, and he started touching me, and he started saying, "Oh, I know how long y'all could stay here, how nice you could be to me." And I was like, oh gosh.
Not again.
So I started having sex with him because I was afraid he gonna let us go. And then my brother's a newborn. So I was holding the family together, like sleeping with him occasionally in the kitchen so we could have some place to stay. And he got tired of it because, like I said, my mom wasn't strict. So my sisters was coming there and then bringing their boyfriends, and I was like, "Mommy, like there's only so much I could do. You can't bring another man in another man's place, even at the age of 13. Well, I was 14.
Now, hold on. Scrooge. Oh, God. Your mother bought a man in another man's place.
Well, my sisters, their boyfriends.
Okay.
And he had an issue with that. He was like, oh, if your sisters got a man, they could go take care of them. Why all y'all here? And I was like, that's understandable. And I was talking to my mom. I was like, Mommy, you know, this is the only place to stay right now. And then my other sister was pregnant at the time as well. So it was all of us in this room. And I was like,
How many in total?
it was my mom, myself, my sister, and the newborn. And she also was pregnant, my big sister. So he finally kicked us out, and then that's when we moved. We actually started squatting. I think that's the right term. We found this abandoned building where a pastor used to live in the south, and we cleaned it up, asked the neighbor to run a cord so we could get some power. And it was nice. We moved all our stuff in and started living there.
It was nice to live in the abandoned house.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
What do you mean?
Spacious. And we made it as home. You know, even though not all of us was in one room, but it was 2 bedrooms. And we decided to just use the first half of the house. And we lived there for a couple months. And then the persons who were related to the person who owned the house.
Just before you go on and hold that thought, how did y'all make it, you know, with your hygiene? No water? Or did they have water and food? And how did you make it?
We were, I don't know how to put it, we were good in those areas. But with the water, we would fill up like 10 big 5-gallon jugs. And then we cleaned out the tub, and we would bathe in the tub and fill up the tub or fill up the bucket and bathe off. So it was comfortable. At least we had a bathroom. And it was good at the time until one of the relatives of the person who owned the house came, and we was like, finally someone came so we could, you know, do it the right way, because my mom still felt uncomfortable just living in the people's house. We tried to reach out to them over social media, but we couldn't find them. And we spoke to the lady, and she seemed nice, and we was like, even if we give you a little something, you know, every month, for us to stay here for a couple more months until we find something else. She was like, okay, that's fine. She laughed, and we was like, oh my thank God, we should a party. And the police showed up the next day, and they said, oh, we have to leave. And they arrested my mom. And then I was like, I'm not letting you carry my mom. So I got arrested too. And then they tried to arrest my grandmother, but she was on oxygen tank at the time. And they decided to, you know, let her go with the newborn as well. And my sister still went by my aunt. And I remember being in the jail cell with my mom. And she was praying. She always been a praying woman. She was praying and crying, and then I just was there, just like, am I really in a cell right now? And we stayed there for a few hours until the nice police lady, and she was like, you all know your child was illegal and you could go to jail, right? But she was like, what I could do for you is just get your stuff and go by your aunt. And my mom was like, we have beds and furniture. We really moved into these people's house. So she said she'd be out 2 days, and she was nice about it, and she gave us a ride. I didn't get her name, but she was really nice, and we had to stay by my aunt. I had different occasions of sexually abused and jumping from place to place, but it started to cease down a bit more as I grew up. And then when I came out of school, that was a whole different ball game, because now I was legal. So they were coming at me harder. But I take that back. Well, in high school, I still had it bad, because the teachers and the administrators or whatever would still try to sexually assault me. Like the PE teacher at the time, he did something the same security guard did to me in junior high. He just stripped down and showed me his stuff and was like, oh, let's have sex in the back room. And I just was like, what makes you think I want to do that? And he did it as if I wanted that. He was like, okay, come, let's just do it. And I just was like, what indication did I give you that I want to do that? And I just was like, no. And he was like, okay, fine, just suck it. And I just was like, I really don't want to. I ran off, and I was on lunch break. And then I had another teacher who I loved this teacher so much. He was like a father figure. He was like everything I wanted in a father. And I trusted him. Every lunch break, I would be in his class, doing BGCSE times. When I have a break, I would just stay in his class, and I felt safe. Until one day he just started touching on me and started giving me A's for no reason, because I wasn't the best in English. So I was trying to figure out where these A's coming from on my report card. So he finally started showing his real colors, and then one day he just held me and was like touching me down there. He wanted to have sex with me in the classroom till I tell him, oh, my mom downstairs, I gotta go. Then I ran off. And after that day, I tried to avoid him. I even was to duck his class. I got suspended even for ducking his class, but I didn't want to tell because I've seen the way men react when you tell on them when they're doing something and they have an image and family at home, they'll be ready to end your life. So I didn't tell until I went old school, and then I started, saying whatever, and then I still didn't get the satisfaction I thought I was gonna get. It just was like, not even, he had sex with you, and I was just like, what the fact of the matter. And as I came out of school, pedophiles who wanted to, have intercourse with me, who were my mom's friends, they started being more bold about it because they like, okay, she's 18 now. She, like this MP, he would always give my mommy money or check for my school supplies. He always had us straight everywhere. Until I came to him one day because I was working at the office he was working at. And he took me for lunch, and then he just dragged me in the back of this church. And he started touching me, and I just was confused because I look at him as a father figure as well, because I didn't have a father figure in my life like that. And he would start touching on me and start giving me money to have sex with him. And after I see like it ain't going nowhere, I just went along with it. Because my sister started doing it. She started having sex for money when she came out of school. And my mom, I don't think she used to. I would hope not. But she would see these men trying to get at me, and she would she would have me in the front seat of their car, and they would be giving her money and stuff like that. And then I just would be like, these men, their intentions, so why? So I just carried it along with me in adulthood. And I'm not gonna lie, because growing up, we didn't have much money. I mean, like, I had a saving somewhere.
Hold on right there. I don't know about you, but this is a difficult interview to sit through, okay? Every authority we have heard in her experiences betrayed her trust. We have to go, and we only have a couple minutes left, but what about the church? Did you go to the church? And the final thing I want you to end with, there was a point you were going to commit suicide. Why, and what took you off the ledge?
With the pastor, I went seeking help, therapeutic help. And he said, okay, let's meet somewhere private. So we met, and then he was talking to me at first, and then he just switched, and then tried to, have sexual intercourse with me. And he just was newlywed to a pastor who I've known all my life, who I'm very close to, and I denied him. And then later on that night, she called me, rallying me on the phone. How could you do this to me? And told the whole congregation I tried to sleep with her man. And I just was like, I was showing her the messages, everything was just, friendly. And I looked at him as an adult. I am 18. He's 40. Why would I be trying to sleep with a 40-year-old man? So that really made me not want to go to churches. And the other incident was, what you were saying?
Suicide. What brought you to suicide?
What brought me to suicide was the fact that this is my reality. And the fact that I went through all of that. And I just wanted everything just to end. I just was tired of being in here. And I remembered one time I just was on the bus stop. Every staff drove past me because I was catching bus at the time. It was storming, raining. I stood on the bus stop in the rain for 30 minutes. In storm. All my shoes was burst open. And I just was like, I'm tired of this. I'm tired. So after work, I'll just walk across the road without even looking, hoping something just hit me. And I just look up and just walk across, and people would be swerving, hey! I didn't even care that I ended my life in front of where I worked. At home, I would just look at my ledge. So I was living on a 2-story apartment complex. And a couple times I wanted to jump off. A couple times I slit my wrists. A couple times I tried to drown myself. And for some reason, nothing was working. I took pills. And for some reason, I just wasn't going nowhere. And it was only when my former boss came, and she just had this life and all, and she just pulled me out of that suicidal area of my life. And how I was in that dim side so long, I didn't even know I wasn't even permanent on my job. I didn't care about my job. I didn't care about anything that this life brought. I didn't care about my body, my mental health. And she just brought everything back. That was 2024. So from 2024 to now, I'm finally okay.
One word or two. What do you say for women or men hurting like you? What is the solution?
I would say find somebody, anybody who would actually listen, because people would look at me and just would say, oh, she ain't been through nothing. But a real authentic person to listen to you and try to help you, even if you gotta go to the police station. It ain't never that serious. Even if the people get caught, it's better than living through the pain. I wish I went to the police station.
I'm sorry we are out of time and I want to talk to you again. But, let's restore love in our country. The foundation of the Bahamian community is love. Let us recommit to the Word. The Word tells us in Matthew 18:6, it's better to have a millstone around our necks and throw ourselves in the deepest part of the ocean than to offend and to assault and to rape and abuse children. And if you listen to this story, you can see why there's so much rebellion. We have the answer. We can't. It doesn't start with the law. The law helps. But it starts with us recommitting ourselves to Christian values, to loving one another, to having the dignity and character between the adult and the child, so that we can move from dependency to self-sufficiency to economic empowerment. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Ministry of Social Services, the heartbeat of the nation, where we move our clients from dependency to self-sufficiency to economic empowerment.